We were like, what would it look like if we used our platform to champion some cool thing that was our own work?
We are super excited to introduce you to our 300 Sons for City Soleil campaign. As you can see, we have these blank canvases here, and the beautiful thing that's gonna happen is we're gonna take these suns and we are actually literally gonna build a piece of art that is a sunrise that represents all of you coming together for the kiddos that we adore in City Soleil. So it's $25 a month commitment, and every single one of them comes together and makes a huge impact. We cannot wait to see who joins the Upstream family.
Well, guys, it's an exciting day here at Upstream Life, and I'm going to let Sammy kind of introduce our guest today and how excited we are to have him kind of kicking this Upstream Life series off.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the new direction that we're going, and so fun to have you here with us, Will. Will McGinniss, maybe I'll actually let you introduce yourself. Who are you?
Oh, man. Well, I'm a lot of things. A husband, a dad of 3 kids, live in Franklin, Tennessee, just south of Nashville. Been there for a long time, was the bass player of a Christian rock band called Audio Adrenaline in my former life. And then done a tour of about 17 years in and out of Haiti, lived there and started a children's village there. And so we've been a part of the operation of that. And now CEO of a couple cool brands that I get to represent, both out of Haiti, Hands and Feet. They started under that a nonprofit, but now they're for-profit businesses that are trying to, be a business as mission or a business with a purpose, a business that has other things in mind other than just the bottom line and making profits, but wants to help a certain people group. And that people group happens to be in one of the toughest places in the world. Haiti, and it's helping one of the some of the coolest people I know and some of the most vulnerable. So, but we have Haiti Made and we have Beyond Borders. One is leather goods and one is metal art. And so, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I don't know how much more you want to get into. I have a crazy journey, but just
we'll pull it out of you
guys today.
We're big Haiti Made fans. My daily bag that I carry around, like my little clutch, is Haiti Made. I love it.
I think you got a Haiti Made bracelet on usually most days.
Definitely. Yeah. You guys have some beautiful, beautiful leather work. So
I certainly can appreciate it too, because being that you're the founder of it, there's a little bit of masculine choices in there too.
I actually love that about it.
There is plenty of earrings coming out of Haiti. It's nice to find a good wallet or a belt from time to time.
Yeah.
Well, Will, as you kind of just shared with us, you've touched kind of some peaks in life, maybe some aspirations that you had as a young man and pursuing a career of music. And I just kind of want to hear from you. Where is the part that grabbed you that says, hey, I'm going to kind of go a different direction, or maybe this isn't even a different direction. It's just a different turn that God took you on. But as we talk about Upstream Life, it's kind of this idea that the world kind of sells us a particular track to go on. Nothing wrong with that at all. This isn't about saying one way is better than the other, but for those that are pressed into Christ, truly trying to be followers of him, reading scriptures and then looking to the world to try to find the purpose to this, what can seem to be a very short life, and for many a painful life. What does it look like to go against the flow? What does it look like to choose purpose and calling above career?
Yeah, I feel like that takes me way back to going off to college. I grew up in a very small rural Ohio community, cornfields, and I grew up in a trailer home. Mom and my 2 sisters, broken home. And, my grandma pretty much raised me. She also gave me an incredible love of music. I saw her bounce around on the piano. But I was pretty much raised by my grandma and my aunt and uncle and my cousin. I hung out with my cousin all the time. I got saved in 10th grade. My 2 sisters got saved and my mom got saved. Our whole life kind of turned around. It was a very dysfunctional time up until then. And so, I started looking at what I could do with my life. And I looked back and I saw how God protected me from myself. I was just kind of this shy, introverted kid. I didn't have any, father figure, didn't have any discipline, didn't have any guidelines. I could go all over whenever, anytime, ride my bike all over the country, whatever, do whatever I want. But I just stayed out of the trappings, and God protected me from it. And I got saved, and our family turned around. Well, I decided to go off to Bible college because my uncle had went to this small little Bible college in Kentucky, and he was a teacher. And I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher just like my uncle. And I'm going to change other students who are like me, who come from broken homes, who have a crazy past, but they just need this one positive person in their life. So I'm going to go off and be a teacher like my uncle. I saw my uncle just being this incredible person in the school system. Whoever he was around, he was just uplifting and positive and like pulled the good out of people and wanted to kind of get them on a path and say, hey, you could do this. Don't let anyone tell you can't. And so my mom, she's taking me off to this little Bible college. It's the very first week of school. It's orientation week. She's so proud to get her child out of Caledonia, Ohio, this 400 people town, going off to Bible college. And so she's, taking me. I'm over setting up in my dorm, and she overhears these two guys talking about a band they're going to start. It happened to be Mark, our lead singer, and his brother, and our guitar player, Barry. And she goes up to complete strangers and she goes, well, my son plays bass. You should get him in your rock band.
Yeah. That is a mom for you. I love it.
And so she didn't tell me this. She goes home, and backing up just a little bit, my grandma had just gave me a bass as a graduation present 3 months earlier. So I'd only been playing bass like 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I'm about a week later, these guys knock on my door, and they're like, hey, are you Will? And I'm like, yeah, who are you guys? And I thought everyone was just running around. You know how college, just meeting everyone, not getting to know everyone. And they're like, well, we ran into your mom, and we're starting a Christian rock band. Yeah, we're starting a Christian rock band. And she said, you play bass, and we think you need to be in our rock band. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. She didn't tell me that. Did she tell you that I'd only been playing bass like 3 months? And they go, oh, no, not really. But hey, you seem cool. We'll teach you how to play bass. It's easy. You're in the band. Yeah. And so literally that's how God kind of, I'm kind of summarizing a lot of the journey. But, just in that quick, my life kind of went from, I have no idea what I'm doing, I have a little bit of a plan, to me getting in a rock band. And we played all through college. We were like the ambassadors for college, and the college, Christian college. And we kind of got our 10,000 hours traveling around doing everything under the moon, playing on picnic tables and everything else, camps and bar mitzvahs and everything else you could throw us into. We did all of it. And then lo and behold, like our senior year of college, we're getting calls from Nashville. This little small band called DC Talk somehow got our demo, and they were, giving it to their record label. And they're calling us. We're bouncing around on our bunk beds, jamming the music in our boxers. And it's a record label. Are you kidding me? And, we can't believe this. What's going on? And they're like, yeah, we want you to come to Nashville and sign a record deal. So, 1991, I moved to Nashville and signed a record deal. And then, that's kind of the rest is history. We opened up for every band out there, and then we started headlining. I mean, the real kind of pivotal moment, maybe in a secondary pivotal moment in my life, was when, we had traveled and kind of lapped the world. We had done a lot of cool stuff. We'd won a lot of, Dove Awards and stuff like that for our music. We even won a couple Grammys. Yeah. And then we asked this question. We were like, why are we leaving our families and doing this? You can do something for 10, 12 years, and then you can still wake up one day and go, why am I doing this? Sure. You can have all the success in the world, and you can still wake up one day and be empty and be like, what am I doing? What is my purpose? What's my why? I kind of lost it, and we kind of lost it as a band. And so that's when we were like, we got to do something with our platform more than just, run around and get ruckus and write great songs and win awards. We got to do more. And so Mark's mom and dad were missionaries to Haiti since the 70s, and they, the band supported them. And we were like, what would it look like if we used our platform to champion some cool thing that was our own work? And, we had the world visions, the compassions, other things, other opportunities we could do, but we wanted to do something that was our own thing and just own this thing and actually invest in it and have some skin in the game. And it cost us something, and so we pulled the band's money together. We went down with Drex and Joe, Mark's mom and dad, and we were like, what's going on here? How can we help? What's the deal? And at that time, you know, what we were told was that there's a huge orphan and abandonment crisis. And, you know, you and I know now that that may or may not have been, we can talk about that, but it may or may not have been the real issues, but it was what we kind of like thought the Lord was asking us to do. So we were faithful. We started the Hands and Feet Project, children's villages in Jacmel. And we started talking about it from our stage, and our fans loved it. They just rose up and they started supporting this thing. And it was a 501c3, and it's what the band kind of talked about the rest of its career. And so, you know, we were out there singing these songs. Hands and Feet was a song we sung every night. And we just said, hey, no more you being a Christian on Sunday and being, you know, your usual suspect during the week, or Christmas and Easter. But no, we're going to live a life for God. We're going to be about Christ and a daily walk. And that means we're going to, like, you know, be his hands and feet all day, every day. And here's a way you can plug in Haiti, and you can help these, you know, these children who have nothing in this country that has so little. And we started taking trips down there and all of that. And that really was crazy. So in a lot of ways, I guess we just kind of went against the grain in a lot of ways. Musically, we weren't afraid to wear the name Christian band. You know, we were proud of that name, even though it alienated us from secular venues sometimes, or we were stuck in the Christian bin in the music store, or, you know, we didn't get asked to go do some fairs or some events. God created our lane, he created our niche, and we went. And then awesome. You know, when we bought into Haiti, we're like, you know, just instead of like wanting to build our own kingdoms, we wanted to go and we wanted to be like Mother Teresa. It's not about what the poor, you know, what about you do for the poor, but it's about what the poor do for you. Getting in and getting dirty with people, locking arms, servant leadership, getting out there and leading with your actions and not your words. So as a band, we wanted to go, you know, culturally against that. And we just wanted to get down there and show people that we could love well and live the gospel, you know, lavishly, and try not to do wrong. But that's another part of the story. We can talk about that maybe in a minute.
Yeah, right.
That's incredible. Will, I'm going to let Sammy ask the next one. I just want to hit a couple things on a just short answer question before she actually asks the next big one. So your steadfastness and long suffering to the island of Haiti has been a long time. How many years total since the first day you're in Haiti, and obviously you're continuing work now?
Yeah, it's been about 17 years now. This is the 17th year, yeah.
So I'm just going to pause our audience for a second and just say, you know, having served it now, we're going on our 11th year this February. That is a very rare breed. Haiti itself, and serving the people of Haiti, not the people, but just the situation that seemed to always come up for that poor island, is very taxing. Yep. And a lot of people, you know, exit that island quick. So one, I just want to stop and say I'm really proud of you, like truly, because the mantra that Sammy and I have been saying this year is you only win if you don't quit, right? This is a long race, and when you guys made that decision many years ago, you had no idea of the famines and the coups and the assassinations of presidents and food shortages, fuel shortages, the inability to travel in and out would come.
And just it's so hard to get anything done.
And the emotional tax, you've prevailed. That in itself, I think, leads really well to the next question. Sammy, go ahead.
Yeah, so the next question is, can you tell us about a challenge that you've faced living upstream and how you overcame it?
Yeah.
Which I know there's a lot of challenges. Oh man. That
led perfectly into this question. Yeah. But, I mean, I think one of my favorite scriptures, you know, is the one where you run the race to finish, you know, and there's so many times there's a lot of business coaching I've done and stuff where it's just like you get almost to the finish line and you just gave up just that 1, you know, inch short. And you didn't know it was right there.
Right there.
And I think the other thing was that, you know, when we as a band got our first, round of kids there in Jacmel, it was a real sobering moment. It was like, okay, what have we done? Number one. And then number two, we're like, we just committed to 18 years with these guys. And they were babies laying on a matla.
Yep.
I mean, they were literally months old. It was like 12 of them. And then we got this beautiful picture of all of them laying across on one mat with like 12 boys and little Haitian boys and girls coming from all different backgrounds. In that kind of, most of them were from up in the mountains near Jacmel. And most of them were true orphan. And so, you know, that was just a realization and a commitment that we made to those kids early on. We're just like, hey, heck or high water, we're doing this. We're committing to you guys for 18 years. And then lo and behold, like 120 kids later, I mean, it's like, it's a big commitment, but we were a dumb rock band and we said yes. And we didn't really know what we were saying yes to, but we did. And God was faithful He's been faithful to carry us through a lot. You know, we've been through, like you said, hurricanes, we've been through floods, we've been through earthquakes, we've been through, like you said, all the coups, all the gas shortages, all the stuff like that. And just even daily life there is incredibly hard, from, you know, the lack of power, the lack of the things you need, and the redundancies you have to survive. But I think the main challenges for me, you know, I can talk about it from, you know, being a part of the nonprofit and then part of it, you know, doing Haiti Made and Beyond Borders. It's as the nonprofit, you know, we were there for about 5 years and we realized we were part of the problem. We were doing it wrong. We were building this beautiful, shiny building that was enticing families to give up to their children to what they thought was a better idea, a better opportunity. And that was absurd to us. That's not what we went down to Haiti for. And so many people go into Haiti with the right intentions, the right heart, but they end up hurting the country more than helping, or they end up feeding a frenzy, feeding a problem that grows in them that shouldn't be fed. And so we got in the fight about 4 or 5 years in to keep families together. That became part of our mission and vision, to fight to keep families together. And we wanted to be the last best resort for only a true child of abandonment, child of a mental health issue, or a child of you know, total, you know, fatherless or parentless situation at that point. That's all we wanted. We were like, let's be the last best resort, but let's get out and get in the fight and slug it out to keep these families together. And that's what's
amazing about that is there's plenty of those kids too. Like, yeah. That's an overwhelming number of kids too, even what we're calling the true orphan. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we got in that fight and we just started creating programs where we're, you know, helping with school, or we're partnering with the family. And quickly we realized that job creation was the big thing that Haiti needed. And so
more difficult. I think more difficult. I think it's really easy to go in because Americans, when you put in front of an American, hey, there's this child, they're orphaned, we're taking care of them, they just naturally are more apt to get involved. Absolutely. At least that's, I feel like, what I've seen, what we've seen. And so I think it's a much harder thing to like back up and like go to the source of the problem, because it's just not as sexy, if we're being honest.
And there's, you know, as a band, we could have marketed Jesus really well and put him all over our shirts and sold a lot of shirts, but we committed to ourselves never to do that, never to sell Jesus, to talk about Jesus often, to make him famous, to glorify him, but not to sell Jesus. And I think when you go into Haiti, sometimes you're selling these kids. I mean, not literally as in the bad context that is happening out in the world with trafficking, but you're marketing them in a way that is, you know, is just not cool either, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, the pictures of hugging the kids and all that. So we steer clear of all of that too. We want to be an operation of integrity, and one that's just, really talking about what God is doing, not about what we're doing. But I think, like you said, it's really hard in Haiti because there's no opportunities. The poverty cycles are real and they're very deep, and they're, you know, when the population lives on, you know, $2.50 US a day or less, or there's an abject poverty number of $1.25 or less they live on. And a cup of rice is what? It's like, you know, $1.50, $2 for a cup of rice. And so the breadwinners of the family, you know, they're very community oriented, as you know. They're very relational. Like 50 years ago here, you know, a kid in Haiti is everyone's kid. They're going to tell that kid to get out of the street, whether it's their kid or not. You know, they're They're going to give them a smack in the bottom if they're doing something silly, whether it's their kid or not. You know, they're all in for each other. And in a community setting, you know, if someone's got money or a job, they're sharing that money as best they can. And they're helping their family, and they're helping their extended family, and they're putting kids in school, clothing, they're eating. But that's only if they have a decent job. If they don't have a decent job, they're barely feeding themselves. And so a job in Haiti is everything, but you got to kind of stock the pond. That's what we realized. You're not just going to go, poof, there's jobs in Haiti, you know, from taps to car washes to motos to block laying or construction or whatever. Yeah, we spent 14 years building a lot of stuff. So that was a great capital infusion to the country. We brought monies in from America, and we built stuff, and we had a 300 team Haitian crew and job creation. That was awesome. And we turned all of our facilities into job creation. Like, how can we hire cooks? How can we hire nannies? How can we hire these caregivers? How can we hire
drivers? Everything.
Yeah. And that's part of the job creation equation. But when the students started to age out and grow up, what were we going to turn them out into? They were incredibly prepared kids, educated in some of the best schools that we could, you know, put them in down in Haiti. They were fed. They had health care. They had the social workers that were, you know, growing them spiritually and mentally. They had the spiritual aspects where they're going to church and stuff, and they're incredible kids, but turn them out into what? Yeah. And so that's what led us into some of these brands that I'm running today, Haiti Made and Beyond Borders. And the idea that we really need to get down there and create opportunities. Yeah. And I would suggest that for anyone listening, Haiti is a land of opportunity. It can be tough. The political landscapes are nuts. If you do risk assessment, you would not start a business there. But if you've got a higher purpose, if you've got a higher calling, and you can have some belief level at any level that, you know, you could go down there and do something in any shape or form to create jobs and help this people group, man, it's a worthy endeavor. And yeah, we have shipping woes. Yeah, we have, you know, roads that are blocked. Yeah, we have, you know, ports that get shut down on occasion, and there's gas shortages and stuff, and maybe our electric's out. But we battle through that. I pride ourselves in being creative problem solvers and operators in Haiti. I mean, that's just like any business. You don't like suck your thumb or quit or go crawl in a hole or stick your head in the sand. You just face it head on, and you go, okay, today's challenge is the road's blocked. How do we get around that situation and get our stuff to port, to ship out, to get back here so we fill an order? I mean, it's just that simple. We problem solve. So that's kind of a lot of it there. That's a long answer to challenges and woes and all kinds of stuff that we face there.
It's what people need to hear, Will, and it's also why we love you. You know, it gets very challenging. I don't know if this is true for your life, but, you know, when you're back stateside, it's hard to really share with people what you do on the day-to-day or why you do it, because there just isn't a landing field for understanding. You know, it truly is a different world. And, you know, we've all grown up with the proverb of, you know, teach a man to fish and, you know, he'll feed himself for a lifetime. Yep. And Haiti is not a place that's lacking skills. It's lacking ponds to fish in. So job creation is us going down there and finding those that already know a skill or can learn a very easy skill, and then building a pond for them to fish in. That's what job creation is to me. And
awesome.
You know, I don't remember what year it was that we connected there at your iCondo, but I knew
it would have been 16 or 17.
Yeah, I remember that day. I was like, okay, so these are biblical philosophies that match really, really well. And one of the reasons why, of the hundreds of people we've met in Haiti, it's why we've kept connection and why we think it's so awesome to have you on today.
Oh man, I'm honored.
So in this idea of listeners that, you know, here's one of the things. So I pastored youth for a good portion of our life. I think since 2000, we've been involved in some form or fashion with youth. And what's interesting is, as much as a parent wants their child to hear things about the Bible, what it means to follow Jesus, when they get to an age to start picking and choosing, living that life of purpose or following Christ, as I said, it goes against culture sometimes. What do you mean you want to be a missionary? You don't want to go to college? You know, what do you mean you want to load up a van with your buddies and go be a Christian musician and not go to college? And those are kind of some of the simple things. But like I said, they can get really waited. So what advice would you give listeners facing similar challenges than you? And I'm going to preface this a little bit with a statement that I say all the time. I think this is a Joe Rogelski true quote. When people ask me, I say, I've arrived accidentally on purpose.
That's
when
awesome.
when Jesus met me, he said,
I think that is a Joe Rogelski original.
when Jesus met me at 20 years of age, literally all he extended to me was to follow him.
Yep.
So any great claim to fame that I may or may not ever get is just going to be because we followed him, his teachings, his character, where he led us. And the amazing parts, really, we don't have a whole lot of credit to take in it. So what advice would you give listeners facing similar challenges to you?
Yeah,
Even maybe like kind of two-part, like
Yeah.
when you decided, like, I guess the couple of things that stand out to me is when you decided, one, to just go to Bible college. That probably wasn't like the thing that everybody your age was doing.
Yeah.
And then two, when your band decided like, whoa, and Joe didn't grow up in the church, so he doesn't realize like audio adrenaline was like audio adrenaline, right? So for you to be a band that is like wildly successful from what the world would see, right? And you guys decide, okay, hey, this is cool and all, but we want to go this way. We want to go against the flow. We want to use this for greater purpose. Like those things stand out to me. So when young people are listening, or people that are, maybe they are really successful and things look like they think that they're supposed to look, but then all of a sudden they feel maybe they're supposed to pivot. I think those are like good things maybe that you could speak into. What would you say to them?
Yeah, my mind kind of goes a couple places there. I think back to, not having a father and maybe seeing God as my Abba Father. And that, I was a young believer and I really did take God at his word. And I, like when you have your own kids and you say, jump off the dock into my arms into the water, and they just kind of, there they go. And they do this crazy stuff. And you're like, wow, they have no fear. And I think me as a young Christian, a young believer who knew God as Abba Father, because I didn't have a very good earthly father, really latched onto that. God is my father. And that allowed me maybe to jump and to feel like he had my back and to do things that kind of gave me a strong faith, I guess. It just gave me kind of, and some people might say it was a crazy faith or, a faith that, didn't consider all the fears or all the pitfalls out there. And
that's
maybe
the best kind.
What's going to be your fallback, Will? What's going to be your fallback?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's early on. And then, like you said, I think, I just had my daughter go to Rwanda this summer, and, she's lived this life that Andrea and I have lived. She's lived in Haiti. She's traveled to Haiti since she was like 7 years old. And she saw us live a life of mission. She went on the bus and out on the road with me. She heard us talk every night about this crazy stuff we talked about, like I said, being Christ's hands and feet to those around you, even going to the mission field or going wherever, just living your life for Christ, whether you're a teacher, a businessman, or a missionary, giving your whole heart to God. And she heard that. And what she do this summer, she's like, I'm going to Rwanda. And we're like, you are? And she's like, and we're like, well, who are you going with? Just some friends, not even with an organization. Like, she's just going to Rwanda to like, I think it's cool. There's like some medic clinics there. We're going to plug in and I'm like, we oh no, it's coming back to roost. It's coming back to roost. What do we do? And, we had to answer those fears in our heart as parents of our daughter, who's just following in our footsteps, being wild and on her faith journey. And like, I'm going, and she's going to adventure and she's going to help some people. And she's a PA, so she's going to use some of her medical skills. And I, Andrew and I had to really, look that in the face and go, hey, she's on her faith journey and we got to support this. So we had to put those fears and right in Abba's lap and say, you got this. She's yours now. And we stewarded her best we can, and probably was a little nuts for her, but now she's yours. And so anyone listening, I think it's just like, as we were a successful rock band, and we could have just kept doing status quo and just out there trying to tour to make money and all of that and get more accolades. I think we just really felt empty, And I think for anyone that has any kind of platform, like you guys have what you're doing, or if someone is a CEO of a company and they are in leadership and they lead a bunch of people, they could be very influential and they could have a great voice for doing things differently. If you have a coffee shop, what's your coffee shop about? If you're a church, what's the heartbeat behind your church? Is it more missional and then building buildings, or is it, about all these other things, that we see churches fall into? I don't know. So, anything you're doing or anything that God's given you, any platform, any placement he has you right now, he's got a plan and he's equipped you to be right there in the moment and to choose to do the bigger things in your skill set, in your lane, in your situation, whatever it is. This is a message we gave to kids early on. We wrote a song, like our very first record, talked about public school as being a mission field.
Absolutely.
The government pays you to be there. You show up every day. Right. Go and be bold for Christ in your public school. That goes back as long as we were a band. And so I think that's just the DNA of what God put on our hearts as people in Bible college and then early in the band. And it still continues to this day. It's like whatever God blesses you with, turn around and give it back to him in a way that you can use it for his glory. So,
incredible. Well, and I think so many times, the enemy would like us to think that we're not a Christian band. We're not a pastor. We're not a missionary, whatever, rather than allowing us to really see who we are, right? Like we could be just a mom and have an insane impact on the world, right? Because absolutely. If we raise phenomenal kids, they're going to impact the world. And I think, so many times for sure, the enemy wants us to be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can really do here. Like you could work at a car wash and change people's lives. Like absolutely. There's like no limitation. If you give whatever it is that you're doing to Jesus, like he's going to multiply it. And so I love hearing you say that. We actually have some friends that are in Rwanda. So if you ever need, a connection for your daughter, we have some friends that we've been supporting for a few years there. They have a really cool organization that they're hooked up with in Rwanda.
Yeah, I pastored a church for almost 6 years, and I have spoke to more people, prayed for more people, and impacted more people in the month that I've served just sweeping floors at our church here. I just was like, hey, I got Thursday afternoons open. I've got my own stuff going on, but I want to be plugged into this church, so at least I know people. So I go there Thursday afternoons, and I vacuum the balcony or sweep the floor. But I've been able to spend time with more, so it's there's always two sides to the coin.
Maybe not more, whatever.
Well,
whatever you're doing.
You can broadcast to more people from a platform, but as far as intimacy and relationship, being able to put your arm around each other, and I've been praying for just so many different things. I love
that about you. You are so relational. Both of you are great. I love it.
Thanks, Will, so much. I know Sammy's got a good question for you.
Yeah. So what makes living upstream worth it to you?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, because I don't know that we'll ever, it's like that. They say you throw the rock in the lake and you see the ripples. You see where the rock hit, but then it sank. And I don't think you ever, in this lifetime will ever see maybe the fruit, of the labor.
Full fruit, at least. Yeah.
Sometimes you see like an immediate, someone got hurt and you took them to the hospital and you saw the doctor fix their leg. Okay. Yeah, that was awesome. You fixed a tire. You helped someone change their tire on the road. But in like some really big kind of like landscapes of like what we're doing in Haiti, I mean, having on average like 45, 50 people that have worked for 5 years now, I don't know that I'll ever know what that's done in their life or what it has done for their kids or whatever. I don't know what it's going to do in the future. Having 100 and 20 plus kids or actually it's more with the ones we've connected outside of family, or supporting families. So you don't really always know, and that's okay, And so I guess for me, it's more about just being faithful in the little things. Like you, I love that you go and just kind of like pitch in at the church and do like mundane things or whatever, just so you can connect to people and like see who God brings across your path to talk to or to share on the journey that day. So I just think being faithful with the little things has been something God gave me for many, many years going back to when I first became a Christian. Don't always be looking to the next big thing, but be in the moment and be faithful with the little things in every moment, every day. And I don't know, it's just kind of like running the race and so that you can finish too. I mentioned that earlier, but and being okay with not knowing the good you're doing always, be okay knowing that God's got it and he's in control of it. And if you're just giving it to him to manage anyway, then it's not like you need those ROIs or those stats or whatever. We're running a couple for-profit businesses. So I got to run X's and O's and I got to be a proper CEO and I got to do the right things, profit and loss, and make good business decisions that are tough some days. But, in terms of everything else, it's like, I don't have to know the good that God's doing at every level.
Yeah. It reminds me of our friend Fritz one time when we were just getting ready to transition from kind of part-time doing this Haiti thing to like full-time, our focus, our time and energy is put into that. He said to Joe, but I was there too, so I just take it as he said it to both of us. But he said, I just want you to remember one thing: faithfulness over impact. And it is something that has stuck with us ever since, because if you can just truly keep that as your, like, I'm just going to be faithful. I'm not going to worry about the impact. Let him worry about the increase. Let him worry about, what it is. If it's really actually about him anyway and not about us, then that doesn't matter. Like you said, like, you don't want to be irresponsible. Like, you have to, whatever. But it's just something that's really stuck with us. So just faithfulness over impact. And as long as we're staying and, remaining in him and keeping our eyes on him, we're going to pivot when we're supposed to pivot. And it's like you said, when a lot of people first start serving in Haiti, they think the answer is help the orphans, take care of them and give them a home, right? And obviously, the longer that you're there, you realize like, okay, we need to go way, way back here to prevent this from happening, right? And sometimes if we're jumping in and creating this, we're actually making it, these orphan crises happening, And so I think just realizing that we don't know everything that we think that we know. And if we just stay faithful to him, he's going to just keep giving us wisdom, and we're going to keep, going, and we're going to end up where we're supposed to be and faithful to him and finishing the race strong,
I know this is true to you, Will, as it is for me. My first year in Haiti, I was quick to learn that Haiti was a graveyard of good intentions,
for sure.
Really good intended people that wanted to come fix problems, but were designing the application from a really nice office back in America.
Yeah, Western mindscape. Yeah.
Yeah. And once you're able to get engrossed in the people, the culture, the things that you've seen, we become great learners. Going back to Mother Teresa's quote, as far as how have the poor affected us? Like, what have they taught us? Because that's how we give back dignity. For the men and the pastors that we serve today, they know what role I play or our organization plays in their life, but I never once am not there full ears and full eyes to see and experience what they have to teach, because they are our best leaders. For those that may tune in that are interested in numbers, in the world of job creation in Haiti, they're governed by their own proverbs. So you have manger cuit pague met, which means cooked food has no owner. It's taught at a child level by everybody in the neighborhood, by grandma, everything. There's all different ways to kind of teach and instill this in kids. But it's just this idea that survival as a community is riddled in sharing. So they say for every job created, 10 people benefit. So 10 people benefit. So
and that's because they share. It's because everything is like survival is dependent on you sharing and people sharing with you.
I oftentimes find myself trying to explain this to friends that care to try to get understanding. But imagine waking up on any given day and realizing every person in your neighborhood is interdependent on each other for survival.
Yep.
How would you treat your neighbors? How would you respect your neighbors? How would you raise each other's children if you knew everything that you depend on could be gone tomorrow and you'd have to walk across the street to ask for a plate of food or to ask somebody to help you send your child to school? Very, very, very different mindset. Very, very different mindset. Yep. We could talk about this type of stuff
forever,
for a long, long time. I want to give you one last chance to kind of anybody that's tuned in, if there's ways for people to get involved or to connect with you, how can they specifically get involved with Haiti Made or Help Haiti Made or Hands and Feet Project or whatever way? Maybe somebody's inspired today to get to know more. How can they do that?
Yeah, well, the children's villages and stuff is handsandfeetproject.org. And, Hands and Feet is doing all kinds of cool stuff always. I mean, it's mostly revolving around the students that they care for and the families that they partner with. So you could go to the website and kind of see all the programs and stuff that are happening there. But
I'll have Ben put all the links, links you mentioned.
It'll be like right here.
For people,
Wonderful. Yeah, so handsandfeetproject.org to check out the Children's Village and all the work that we're doing with the children. We're running campaigns and stuff all the time to to pay for the kids' school, to buy them school clothes, we did Fixer Upper recently where we fixed up their houses that they're in. And then we've done some other stuff that are more community oriented too, to help around situations that happen there all the time.
Absolutely. You have to.
But the businesses that I'm specifically responsible for are Haiti Made, which is a leather brand, HaitiMade.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is a team of Haitians, men and women. Some of them have come out of the Hands and Feet Project. They've transitioned now. This is their first job to jumpstart their life. Others are mothers who want to keep their families together. They're fighting to keep their family intact, and they come to work. They make a fair living wage, and they go home and feed their families. And like you said, up to 10 others. And then we've got young buck Haitians who are in university. Haitian guys and girls that are just young, they're ambitious, they want to go to university, they want to further their education, they're brilliant. And so Haiti Made gives them that opportunity to make money and go to do that. So we have managers, and the managers are supporting other, my main managers are supporting other managers, and then they're supporting the workers. So it's they learn about org charts and about, our culture. We're setting there as, we're one team, one body, the person on your left, the person on your right, belief in the opportunity, belief in each other, belief in doing a good job, showing up, all those things. We try to set a lot of cool culture there. But so the leather goods that are made are handmade and one of a kind, pieces that are no machining at all. And the leather.
And truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Truly beautiful. Joe and I talk a lot about things that are made in Haiti, and he knows that I'm a big fan of probably too much leather from you guys.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And then just last year in COVID world, it was just super weird that God would do this, but there was an aging couple, Joel and Janet, from up in Ohio. They'd been running Beyond Borders metal art from Croix de Bouquet area in Port-au-Prince. That this metal art is made. It's very identifiable. Like when you see this metal, you're like, okay, there's only one place in the world, Croix de Bouquet.
That's made it. Yep.
Community of Noels there in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, and it's been handed down generationally. It started with like a guy about like 60 years ago. He taught all the kids, and now they've taught all their kids. They've taught all their kids. So it's this beautiful generational business that's a lot of money has come into Haiti because of, and it's supported a lot of families and a lot of artists. And right now we support over 100 artisans. We buy their pieces, they're hand signed, they're Fair Trade Federation certified. That just means that we pay them well, and then we bring it back here and we sell their beautiful art to all kinds of cool boutiques and stuff. But Beyond Borders Fairtrade.com is that website, and it's a wholesale platform. So if you have boutiques or quirky stores or Main Street shops, or you're a greenhouse or a garden space, landscaping place, this stuff does really well in cool, like outdoorsy spaces, greenhouses, screened-in porches. My old farmhouse, it looks cool in, but so that's a work that's just supporting artisans, but it's behind it, it's supporting families.
Absolutely.
And communities. And
Sammy
it's keeping them together.
Sammy and I are big fans. It was, one of my very first trips. I found myself in Croix de Bouquet. Yeah. And because it was a Haitian initiative, you watch the power of job creation. I mean, their area of Haiti looks a little more well-kept.
It's like the Breckenridge of Haiti is what we always say. Like, we love all their like signs and pathways. Like, it's just the coolest place.
And I will tell this to anybody that happens to go to your site. I kid you not. It's not our lack of vision, but it's amazing to me how the piece of art on a computer screen or even in their shop just doesn't look the same as once it's in its place and on a wall. Like it really comes to life there. We have their stuff scattered all over, and I've even had, friends that they're the centerpiece of their home. They've got these massive pieces, and once they're up and in their rightful place, they take on a life of their own. They really become a kind of a monument to the home. They're beautiful.
They're just one of a kind hand signed pieces of art. So they're really to be treated like, like you would a nice painting from a gallery or whatever. I mean, they are really special, even though they do mass produce some of the pieces, but only by hand.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. They're just doing it faster. Yeah. Not machines.
It's incredible. Maybe I'll have, if Ben has a chance, I'll have him
I think I have probably a video of somebody making something.
A flash art or a video of them making it so they can kind of see it with our description. Well, Will, do you have any closing statements, any final thoughts, anything you want to leave us with?
Man. I think you guys have been incredible. Just thank you for doing this. I'm honored to be here with you. I've got the utmost respect for you guys and the way that you did life, the way that you did Haiti, and what you endured there, and kind of the people you were serving. It's you picked a tough lot, and you did it at the most highest integrous way. So that's what, again, like you said earlier, that's the reason why we stay connected, and we share the battle stories and the survival stories, and we keep going. And but mad blessings on you guys and you as well, and all you're doing. So, and thank you for
right back at you.